Hello and welcome. This is TVC News Hour, which features Flashback, a recap of stories that made headlines during the week. I am Esther Mopariola. First, the news. Spokesman of Baramatu Kingdom in Delta State says the Niger Delta Avengers need to give the government more time to address issues plaguing the oil-rich region. God's Power Benekama believes the renewed threats by the group is because of the government's unfulfilled promises after a mediator group had met with the president late last year.
Attacks on oil installations in the Niger Delta reduced crude oil production to about 1 million barrels per day in 2016. Intervention by leaders and elders of the region led to a 16-point agenda by the Pan-Niger Delta Forum, quickly followed by a fact-finding visit to states in the region by Professor Yemi Osinbajo, then in acting capacity as president. Today, crude oil production has hit 2.1 million barrels per day, but the Niger Delta Avengers has threatened to resume hostilities in oil installations in the region.
The Ogonui cleanup issue, which they kick off and nothing happened. 1 liter of oil has not been removed. Is it the maritime university that they said they will start September, October? This is November. Nothing seems to be happening. We will release 2 billion out of the 10 billion that were requested. No 50 kobo has been released. So is it EPZ project that the federal government said they are going to kickstart? Nothing. Is it the issue of relocation of IOC's headquarters to the area of operation? These things are just there. Nothing seems to be happening. It means that somebody somewhere, some people somewhere, do not want anything.
The spokesman of Baramatu Kingdom, God's Power Benekama, is appealing to the Niger Delta Avengers to be patient with the federal government.
So we are begging the Niger Delta Avengers to still give government some time. We will also still talk. That's why the fact that they say they don't want to listen to leaders again, because they listen to the leaders for 1 full year. Nothing has happened, but the federal government should know they don't have time. The Niger Delta Avengers are not a group that just do something with the laptop or whatever and then go to sleep. They are a deadly group. We don't know them. They are faceless, and the media should help us, beg them, talk to them, that they should sheath that sword. Let's see what the federal government is going to do. For me as a leader, I am not comfortable.
Benekama also called on the international oil companies to be more sensitive to the plight of people in the Niger Delta region. Ofieteme George, TVC News, Warri, Delta State.
It has been a year since Nigeria lost one of our bravest military officers, Lieutenant Colonel Abu Muhammad Ali. The entire nation was in grief this time last year after receiving the sad news. Well, his family says his memory still lingers in their minds. Tessem Akende tells us about the story.
His was the story of one who dealt a cruel blow on terrorists. He was loved for his bravery and gallantry against enemies of peace. But Muhammad Abu Ali died in the battlefront on November the 4th last year alongside 6 of his colleagues in the northeast. It's one loss still described by several as too many.
They went after the adversary to smoke them out of their enclaves, bomb their factories and staging areas. These turned the tide of battle to liberate Nigeria from the scourge of terrorism.
The death of the fine officer left his wife Samira a widow and 2 children. But Abu Ali is just one out of several other heroes lost to insurgents, leaving many women widows. The widows have now formed an association to press home their demands for better welfare from Nigeria. They insist that the death of their husbands while in service of their fatherland must not be forgotten.
I know how soldier's wife suffered because of issue of Maiduguri problem. This charity foundation was established after the death of my husband, late Lieutenant Colonel Kabiri Yusuf.
The family house of the Abu Alis in Kaduna looked deserted when we visited. But prying further, we caught up with Hawa, his younger sister. She told us the rest of the family had gone to Kogi State to visit their father, Brigadier General Abu Ali, retired. There she said prayers were to be offered for the deceased.
I really miss him. He was such a good person. He was so good to all of us, and he was a good example. We miss him, but what can we do? There's nothing. But he's so rest in peace.
It's been difficult getting over the loss, especially as Muhammad Abu Ali was a humble but dogged fighter.
Gentleman, nice and loving, and a caring father to his kids. My plan is to stand by my kids and take care of my kids and bring them up the way he wanted to.
Hawa says they're still battling the pain which they believe only time could heal. It's the same story for several widows who have lost their husbands to the insurgency war. The family members, who are devout Muslims, have been praying for the repose of the soul of Muhammad Abu Ali. They wish for Allah to grant Slim, as he was fondly called, Al-Jannah Fidawsi, translated to be the highest place in paradise according to Islamic tenets. Tassam Akende, TVC News, Kaduna.
The Nigerian Air Force now has the Bell 412 helicopter to its fleet of fighter aircraft. Chief of Air Staff Sadiq Abubakar said a new helicopter will be deployed in the operations against terrorism in the Northeast. And TVC News defense correspondent Sifon Essien reports.
The dry season provides an advantage to land forces to step up attacks on locations held by insurgents in the Northeast. This has resulted in the routing of insurgents from many of their hideouts, particularly those who fled heavy bombardment by fighter jets of the Nigerian Air Force. But in response to the crackdown, the insurgents have also launched their devil attacks on troops and communities in several locations in the Northeast. The worst being the attack on Sasawa village in Yobe State, where casualties were recorded on either side. But the Air Force says it would not be deterred by these cowardly random attacks.
They can try as much as they can, but we'll do everything humanly possible to keep their heads down.
In a special operation recently, the Air Force authorities released videos of their bombardment of more locations in the Northeast where fleeing insurgents had migrated to within the war zone.
Well, so far we are hoping to induct 4 more helicopters. Gunships, we have 2 gunships that are coming in. We are reactivating 1 again, meaning making 3, and then we are also having another liaison aircraft that can plays some other roles. We have a highly committed and patriotic team that is working around the clock to frustrate any effort by the terrorists to make Nigeria unstable.
The Air Force is deploying all its platforms to sustain the crackdown.
The intent is to degrade the remnant Boko Haram insurgents and degrade their capability to launch attacks on our surface forces anywhere they are. And I can say authoritatively that my platform has been one of the most relied upon platforms to carry out this operation.
Most times we carry out interdiction into the enemy territory to delay whatever plans they have or destroy them.
In the discharge of his statutory responsibility, the Air Chief reiterates that the military approach alone is not all there is to fighting insurgency.
You see, insurgency, there are so many dimensions to counter insurgency. We are talking of the military aspect of it. There are so many other dimensions, and I believe that the relevant agencies of government are also working on those dimensions. So unless it's the totality of all these dimensions that produce the desired result.
But he also says for now, denying the insurgents the freedom of attacking the Northeast is a major preoccupation of the Nigerian Armed Forces. Sifon Essien, TVC News, Maiduguri.
It is less than 2 weeks to the Anambra State governorship election, and politicking is quite tense. A league of major stakeholders in the state passed a vote of confidence on Governor Willie Obiano. They say the state wasn't ready to be used as a testing ground for fresh candidates.
Among these major stakeholders are former Nigeria High Commissioner to Spain, Ambassador Bianca Ojukwu, and foremost Nollywood actor Peter Edochie, who say the state is being handled by an experienced administrator whose style of governance is unprecedented. They admonished other candidates from different political parties to take a cue from the present administration's leadership prowess, a quest that would determine what next the state would demand from Governor Willie Obiano's successor come 2022.
This government has made landmark achievements in the area of education, health, oil and gas, agriculture, and most importantly, the major index of development, which is security. Because of course, without security, you cannot have investment.
He has transformed the state. Other people have served for 8 years. They have not worked as much as he has done. So the most I can do is to wish the Almighty God to give him another 4 years. It is only natural. Like all the other people before him, it's simple.
The leaders expressed hope that the state governorship election would be free and fair, but urged the political class to play the game of politics by the rules that demand for what each of the contestant candidates would testify as the achievement they've been able to attract to the state before expressing interest in Anambra politics.
Anytime we remember this, with other landmark projects we had done, the flyovers, many bridges across Anambra State, those who are doubting the determination of this party to take our people to where they deserve will disappear.
These leaders of TUT, however, attribute great importance to what they tagged as interest of the citizens from the political class to ensure good governance is sustained, and advised the people to vote for candidates of their choice in the November 18 governorship election.
Well, let's go on a short break and be back in just a moment. Stay with us. There are security concerns ahead of the Anambra poll, especially with the underground activities of the outlawed indigenous people of Biafra. Security agencies say they are set to support Nigeria's election management body, INEC, to conduct a peaceful governorship election on November the 18th.
It's 2 weeks to the Anambra State governorship elections, and the Anambra State Police Command has expressed its readiness to ensure that the state is relatively peaceful during the elections. The Anambra State Police Command, Deputy Commissioner of Police Mike Okoli at the Civil Society gathering in Abuja, notes that despite the recent proscription order placed on the IPOP group, its members have continued to engage in running underground operations aimed at disrupting the elections. But he says the police is in top gear and that some individuals have been arrested for intending to distribute tons of flyers, discouraging people from participating in the elections.
The challenge of maintaining law and order before, during, and after the election remains the major responsibility of the police. In this regard, we must work towards gaining credibility and public trust as a basis to play the role of an impartial arbiter in the election. Just yesterday, we impounded large quantities of leaflets where they have written "No referendum, no election in Anambra State. No election in Biafran land. Sit at home. Do not go out to vote." Their intention is to begin to distribute these leaflets. But through intelligence, we were able to impound cartons of these leaflets, and 3 people were arrested.
One of the resource persons urged cooperation among voters while urging them to disregard anything that contradicts the principle of a free, fair and credible election.
We are asking the citizens of Anambra State who are registered to come out and vote. We are asking those who are opposed to the conduct of credible elections to restrain themselves. We believe that citizens are entitled in a democracy to come out and vote, and we would like those who discouraging voter turnout to refrain from doing so, because those are kinds of activities represent an interference with the democratic process for which Nigerians have committed themselves to.
Resident Electoral Commissioner for Anambra State, Nwachukwu Orji, says the commission is working tirelessly to ensure that challenges experienced in the past are properly addressed.
The challenge is about overcoming the past. That's one major challenge. Anambra hasn't had it, nice since 1999. Of course, we all know how it went in 1999, in 2003, in 2007, even up to until 2013 and 15. So this seems to be some uphill task that we have to deal with this time. So if you are confronting the past, like I said, it's more like a specter of casting all around you, a shadow following you, shadow of what has happened in the past. And we are determined that this time we have to deal with that past and overcome it.
All hopes remain high that the forthcoming Anambra elections will be free and fair, despite earlier secessionist threats and challenges in the state.
A member of the National Executive Council of the Nigeria Labour Congress, Comrade Issa Aremu, says the three arms of government need to purge themselves of corrupt elements to move the country forward. And speaking during the conference of the National Union of Textile Workers in Ilorin, the Kwara State capital, Aremu believes the two other arms of government will do well if they expose and prosecute the corrupt ones among them. He was reacting to the dismissal of the former secretary to the government of the Federation, Babachir Lawal.
I want to tell President Buhari to be careful of sample facts, because what came out of that meeting was that he was 100% doing very well. And some might even say he should continue, carry go in 2019. I think the president must be beware of sample facts. And the president himself knows that. To avoid the mistake of the past, the president must strengthen PENCOM and PITAD to take over full pension matters on a consistent basis. Those are the ones that we can hold responsible. And I also call on PENCOM and PITAD now to speak out about this crisis going on, because they are the ones who will be able to guide us.
The Academic Staff Union of Polytechnics in the Moshood Abiola Polytechnic, Abeokuta, are now on an indefinite strike. A chairman of the union say their action is because of the government's failure to deal with the controversies surrounding the conversion of the 38-year-old polytechnic to a university. They say the government has not been paying their salaries regularly, and also alleged some members of their union have received death threats by unknown persons.
If you follow down the line, when you went with the governor to Ikpokia to do the foundation laying, he promised that in 2 weeks that place will be ready. It's about 5 weeks now. It's only the gate and the fence that is standing. MBT has not been to that place. No courses has been accredited. Moshood Abiola Polytechnic as of today has 46 running courses that you will not get. And so we are saying that our job is not secure. One of the things that we have highlighted to the government before this thing started is that how are you going to sustain the system? In the month of September, it's only 40% of our salary that has been paid. In the month of October, it has been a truncated salary again that was paid. So we are saying that, and the government has told us to go and look inward. Do you want us to start selling marks? Do you want us to start selling our students to make money?
We'll have more stories in just a moment. Welcome back. You're on to TVC News Hour. The new Vice-Chancellor of the University of Lagos, Professor Oluwatoyin Ogundipe, says the Nigerian youth need to challenge the status quo. He says it is crucial for young people to empower themselves, take up leadership positions and compete favorably in the global market. While others believe the Nigerian youth need to learn coping mechanisms and build values of integrity, trust and also believe in themselves.
All this program is to let our youth know that it's very important for them to be empowered knowledge-wise, so that they will know about the opportunities that are available. There are a lot of opportunities there, but there is a need to tap into it there is need to have information about it, and there is need to get the key. If you don't have the key, you cannot open the door.
We want them to challenge the status quo. There's nothing wrong in that. We want them to have a voice because we know that they are more innovative, more creative, and there's a value proposition in what they say. But in doing it, they must do it in a way and manner, in a respectful manner, in a manner in which that they build trust.
We rightly know that the youth are the future leaders of tomorrow, and it's very, very expedient and important that we give them the right platform into building their lives such that they can be computable anywhere in the world and driven with their passion. Because when there is passion, everything is possible.
Zamfara State Governor Abdulaziz Yari says the contractors handling various projects in the state must do their jobs thoroughly and complete it on time. Well, TVC News correspondent Ibrahim Bello reports.
Governor Abdulaziz Yari and his cabinet members are here to inspect the 23-kilometer Gusau bypass road to know the state of work. The project was awarded to a construction company for about 2 billion naira, and it is expected to be completed in April. Governor Yari expressed satisfaction with the project execution. He urged the company to ensure a timely completion as well as undertake a quality job.
We hope they will catch up with our time schedule to hand over drop by April so that it can be commissioned in our program of the 7th year anniversary. So, but the way I saw the job, I think it's so far so good.
He also inspected the ongoing construction of the emirs of Gusau Falas, which was awarded to an indigenous contractor for about 600 million naira. The governor was received by the emir of Gusau, Ibrahim Bello, and conducted around the project by the contractor. Ibrahim Bello, TVC News, Gusau, Zamfara State.
Building professionals in Nigeria say there is a need for an effective regulation of construction activities in Nigeria. They were speaking at a builders conference in Lagos State, and the Commissioner for Physical Planning and Urban Development, Abiola Anifowoshe, says it is important for existing professional bodies within the building sector to deliberate on finding solutions to the problems confronting the sector.
The journey of construction, building, is quite a long and tortuous journey, but it is the most responsive journey that has benefited mankind after stomach infrastructure. That's the problem we have in the built environment industry. People have decided to be obtuse instead of being convergent on the roles they are supposed to play.
What we have is enough for everybody to survive. We are here to interact and find a lasting solution to the problem that is confronting our profession.
Regulating authorities financial building production delivery, building construction delivery. Most of the developers may not be aware of the distinct role of different agencies that monitor building construction in the state. The professionals and the developers will be able to advise their clients in which agency to be contacted before, during, and after the project delivery.
A cross-section of youth from across the country gathered in Lagos for a national youth movement on governance and leadership. The 4th summit focused on how young people can intellectually provide solutions to the problems facing the country. It also provided an opportunity for youth to brainstorm on ways to increase youth participation in leadership roles and politics. The key speakers at the event believe if the country must move away from the brinks of recession, young people must be encouraged to get involved.
This is economic summit, and this economic summit we are looking at how we can prefer solution to the decaying economy that we are facing. Yeah, we are out of recession, but is it really practicable? Can you see the evidence of what is happening after the recession? You know, so we are here together to discuss all of this and see how we can provide solution to all of this.
First of all, nobody has been really talking to us, so it may sound cliche, but I'm beginning to feel that we are driving into an era when we will start having young people faced with responsibility but unprepared. And when that time comes, it will be disaster, to be a really big disaster. So I expect that at this point in time, we start realizing that our participation in active politics is paramount, and we can also use our unity collectively to start demanding for accountability, transparency, efficiency, and good governance from our elected officials. Only then can we say we have a country that's ours.
It's time to actually stand up and intellectually fight for what belongs to us. We believe that violence, through violence, we're going to achieve anything. Even if you're going to achieve anything, achieve power from the powers that be currently, it has to be strategic, it has to be through intellectual revolution, through intelligence, because really you can actually beat these people to their game. So you have to be up and doing intellectually.
We're trying to raise dedicated and passionate men who would change the country like our fathers did, the Nnamdi Azikiwes, the Gowon, and all of that. These men sacrificed their lives. They were ready to go the extra length to make the country a better place, and that is what we stand to achieve.
A 38-year-old Nigerian with renal failure needs your financial assistance. The man needs 11 million naira for a kidney transplant that will take place in a specialized hospital in the country. Vivian Irikefe reports.
Akam is at the dialysis unit of the University of Uyo Teaching Hospital to remove excess waste from his blood because his kidneys are no longer functioning properly.
Sometimes in January 2017, I went back from work, I slept over, woke up the next day. I discovered that my leg was swelling up. I came down to the University of Uyo Teaching Hospital on the Wednesday clinic. It was on that day the consultant doctor informed me that I am suffering from kidney failure, that the best alternative for now is for me to be on a dialysis. Each week of my dialysis cost me 135,000 naira, 3 times per week. Consultant doctor informed me that the best alternative is for me to go for kidney transplant, which can be done here in Nigeria at the cost of 11 million naira.
His doctor, a consultant nephrologist, says the sooner he undergoes the transplant, the better he can recover and resume normal life.
We had diagnosed him to be in end-stage kidney disease. That's stage 5 chronic kidney disease, and he needs dialysis as a stopgap measure while waiting for him to have a definitive treatment, which is kidney transplantation. Long-term studies have shown that patients who who are on maintenance hemodialysis for long do worse than our patients who get transplantation done very early on in the course of the disease. Transplantation is expensive. It can be done in Nigeria.
For his family, the thought of losing their breadwinner is unimaginable.
So far, we have spent all that we have had, what the friends have been donating to us, church, and our little savings, and we don't have any more money. So we are now appealing to Meaningful Nigeria with the love of God to please help us, because I don't want him to die. No matter how little the amount may be, it is important. Please save a life.
To assist Akam, please contact 0803-719-4122. Alternatively, you can reach out through the bank details on the screen. Vivian Irikefe, TVC News.
Well, away from Nigeria now, Lebanese Prime Minister Saad al-Hariri has resigned. Hariri made his resignation known in a televised broadcast where he revealed he sensed a plot against his life. He said a similar climate existed in a country that prevailed before the assassination of his father, late Prime Minister Rafik al-Hariri. Hariri became Lebanon's prime minister late last year after a political deal that also brought Hezbollah ally Michael Aoun to the office as the country's president. Well, Typhoon Damri made landfall in Vietnam, killing at least 5 persons just days before the APEC summit of the Asia-Pacific leaders. The storm reached land on Friday with winds gusting about 90 kilometers per hour that tore off more than 1,000 roofs, knocked out power supply poles and uprooted trees. The storm made landfall near the city of Nha Trang, where the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit takes place next week. Sports news now. Nigeria's under-20 women's national team, the Falconets, are gearing up for the test of Morocco, and the coach of the side, Christopher Danjuma, believes he has enough information about Sunday's opponents in Casablanca. The Falconets will take on the North Africans in the second round of the 2018 FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup qualifier. The Nigerian team recorded by the back-to-back victories over Tanzania on the FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup will hold in France from August the 5th to 24th next year. Stoke City twice came from behind to claim a point against Leicester City in a thrilling Premier League game at Bet365 Stadium. Switzerland playmaker Xherdan Shaqiri was involved in both of the home side's goals, curling in the first equalizer at the far post before providing the corner for substitute Peter Crouch's thumping header. Leicester went ahead when Vincent Iborra lashed home from a corner. Riyad Mahrez cut in from the left to drill home Leicester's second before Crouch levelled. The result maintained Claude Paul's unbeaten start as Leicester boss after the Frenchman's new side beat Everton in their first game in charge. In other results, Steve Cook scored a 92nd minute winner to give Bournemouth a vital 1-0 victory at Newcastle. Sadio Mane returned for Liverpool and provided 2 assists for Mohamed Salah, who grabbed a brace in the Reds' 4-1 thrashing of West Ham away. Huddersfield beat West Brom 1-0 and Southampton was stunned by a late header from Sam Vokes to move Burnley to 6th on the table, and Swansea was shocked at home by Brighton 1-0 to condemn the Swans to a 4th straight loss. Remember when South Africa hosted the FIFA World Cup in 2010? Well, that's actually some 7 years now. The country is on the verge of hosting another major international tournament again, this time the 2023 Rugby World Cup. And this is after the board of the sports governing body recommended their bid ahead of the Ireland and France. But South Africa will still have to wait till November the 15th when the final decision is made.
South African rugby officials are optimistic their country will host the 2023 Rugby World Cup after the board of the sports governing body recommended their bid ahead of Ireland and France on Tuesday. World Rugby's council could still opt for any of the 3 bids when it votes on November 15th, but it is expected to rubber stamp the recommendation. Japan will host the next tournament in 2019. Ireland had been the bookmakers' favourites, having never been the main hosts before, while France were the outsiders, having staged the tournament in 2007. South Africa hosted the 1995 World Cup against an extraordinary emotional, social and political backdrop after the country had missed the first 2 tournaments due to the sporting ban over apartheid. And South Africa's Minister of Sports, Thulas Nxesi, said there would have to be very strong reasons for the council to deviate from the recommendation.
There isn't much we're going to do. We just have to be professional and wait for those who are taking the decision to consider all the facts as presented today from the technical committee. And I won't say it will be just a mere formality, but what I know is if there have been an assessment and a technical assessment and an evaluation, to deviate from that, you would have to have very strong reasons. That's what I can say. But if there might be reasons, I don't know. But we will have to leave it to that particular team. But the fact that it's 2 stages, we will have to respect that, and we will have to have the integrity, and hope that those processes will just be followed properly.
The side of Nelson Mandela in the Springbok shirt presenting the Webb Ellis Cup to Francois Pienaar as South Africa triumphed on home soil is probably the most iconic image in the tournament's history. There had been concerns that the current political instability could work against a return, but the evaluation committee clearly felt that it was not an issue. The evaluation was carried out by a team of internal and external functional area experts against weighted criteria. They included the likely commercial success and guarantees venues and political stability. I also believe it would be really tough for any governance group sitting there to make a decision against a recommendation, given the great process that we followed up until now. But that is still their prerogative, and each and every person in that council has got a fiduciary responsibility and a mandate that he has to execute, and we will stick to that process, and we will still accept whatever that decision is that has finally been made. But we believe everybody understands their fiduciary responsibility and understands the governance and the importance of a very transparent process for the world as a whole. And we would like to distinguish ourselves as a federation that follows those processes. So we will stick to the moral high ground and accept whatever that decision is. South Africa's 2023 tournament will make use of some stadiums built for the 2010 Soccer World Cup.
Marseille have suspended Patrice Evra after he kicked a fan in the head before his side's Europa League defeat at Vitória Guimarães on Thursday. European football's governing body, UEFA, charged France international Evra with violent conduct earlier on Friday, with the fullback suspended for at least 1 game. The player had gone over to the fans to talk to them, but the situation escalated. Evra, who was dismissed before kickoff, the incident immediately brought back memories of another act of kung fu kick madness by Manchester United's Eric Cantona in 1995. Cantona's assault led to a 9-month ban handed down by the FA. Well, let's go on a break again and be back in just a moment. The week under review recorded so many highs and lows. President Muhammadu Buhari took his war against corruption to another level when he dropped 2 senior officers in his government, Babachir Lawal and Ayodele Uke. The president appointed Boss Mustafa as the new secretary to the government of the Federation. The Federal High Court again ordered the DSS to produce Sambo Dasuki in court to testify in the suit brought against him by the former spokesperson of the PDP, Olisa Metu. On Wednesday was really a sad day for the national leader of the APC, Asiwaju Ahmed Tinubu, who lost his son, Jide Tinubu. And President Buhari broke down his own record on Thursday by notifying the National Assembly he would present the 2018 budget. And on Friday, the Niger Delta Avengers threatened to break the ceasefire agreement it had with the federal government for refusing to meet up with their demands. Welcome to Flashback, a recap of stories that made headlines during the week. On Monday, President Muhammadu Buhari appointed Boss Mustapha as the new secretary to the government of the Federation. Mustapha replaced Babachir Lawal, who was removed by the presidency earlier. Also removed was the Director General of the National Intelligence Agency, Ayo Uke. The president's decision was revealed in a tweet by the president's spokesman, Femi Adesina. Babachir Lawal was suspended in April after he was indicted by a Senate probe for misusing funds meant for the IDPs. Ayo Uke was suspended after more than $40 million belonging to the National Intelligence Agency was traced to a flat in Lagos. And on that same day, the All Progressives Congress national leader Asiwaju Bola Tinubu dismissed as fake news that he and the president aren't in good terms. Asiwaju Tinubu, who described as a myth the existence of a cabal that has seized the running of the government and relegated to the background major contributors of the APC getting into power, said he was still solidly in support of the APC government. And on Tuesday, the Federal High Court in Abuja again ordered the Director General of the DSS to produce former National Security Advisor Sambo Dasuki in court to testify in the 400 million naira corruption suit brought against him by the former spokesman of the PDP, Olisa Metu.
Justice Okon Abang, who ordered the production of Dasuki in court, noted the former National Security Advisor may not be compelled to testify in the trial until his motion praying for adjournment is fully determined by the court. Dasuki had filed a motion challenging the decision of the court, which last week turned down his request to set aside the subpoena issued against him by the court. In the fresh appeal, Dasuki is praying the court to adjourn the execution of the subpoena until further notice. Pending the hearing and determination of the appeal, he filed at the Court of Appeal, Abuja Division.
Implementation of the order is suspended. And since Colonel Dasuki has appealed and he has compiled the records, he has entered the record in the Court of Appeal, and appeal has been given a number, and then he has gone ahead to file a motion for stay of execution of the order of the subpoena duces tecum, then he is at liberty not to comply with the order of the court to come and give evidence.
Although the former President Jonathan was not present in court, his counsel urged the court to wholly set aside the issuance or service of subpoena against the former president. The court had on October 23rd, at the instance of Metu, issued a subpoena to compel Jonathan to appear in court for the purpose of giving evidence in his trial on an alleged corruption. But his counsel, apart from praying for the setting aside of the subpoena, also asked the court to order Metu to deposit in the court's custody a sum of 1 billion naira for the former president to appear in court.
There being a past president of Nigeria, for him to move from his village in Otuoke to Abuja to testify, he must come with security armada. And under the Administration of Criminal Justice Act, he is to be paid traveling expenses by anyone wanting his attendance. So we are saying, in the event that the court still believes that he should come and testify, is part of our argument against, then the court should order Olisa Metu, who needs the president's services, to deposit the sum of 1 billion naira only to cover the cost of the traveling expenses.
He urged the court to void the subpoena issued against him. In his bench ruling, Justice Abang asked the DSS boss to produce Dasuki in court, while the subpoena on the former president was stepped down due to non-service. The judge said that Metu, who sought to invite the former president to testify for him, knows what to do in the area of substituted service as allowed by the law.
We've been ordered to file a response to a motion, 2 motions, none of which is less than 40 pages. That is what we have found ourselves in court.
The former NSA has asked the court to discharge him as a defense witness to Metu's trial.
On Wednesday, condolences poured in for the national leader of the All Progressives Congress, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, over the sudden death of his first son, Jide. President Buhari, in a telephone call on Wednesday to Asiwaju Tinubu on behalf of the federal government, described the transition of Jide as sad and painful. The president said that the nation had been denied the services and potentials of a resourceful lawyer. The All Progressives Congress, through its spokesman, Bolaji Abdullahi, said it was shocked by the news of Jide's death. They fondly described him as a cerebral, industrious and full of life. Also, the Speaker of the House of Reps described Jide as a lawyer of high repute who cut his teeth in the maritime sector and was hard-working and enterprising. Dogara prayed that Almighty God to grant Asiwaju and his family the fortitude to bear the irreparable loss. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar commiserated with the Tinubu family, counseling them not to lose faith in the will of Allah. The former Vice President also called on men and women of goodwill, friends and associates to rally around Tinubu in prayers over their loss. And Oyo State Governor, Senator Abiola Ajimobi, described the sudden death of the APC national leader's son as not only shocking, but also unfortunate and disheartening. The governor said the country has lost another shining star and a future leader. Well, there was a moment of drama at the Federal Executive Council meeting which may not be unconnected to the recall and dismissal of the former pensions boss, Abdulrasheed Maina. An evidently angry head of service, Winifred Oyoita, spent some time either answering to or explaining some issues to the Vice President, Yomi Osinbajo, and the Chief of Staff, Abba Kyari. She would later leave them and go to her seat. Bent on making her point, she stood up again and headed towards Osinbajo and Kyari. And after some explanations, Oyoita got back to her seat and will get up again and head to Abba Kyari and Yemi Osinbajo's way. On Thursday, President Buhari notified both chambers of the National Assembly that the estimates of the 2018 budget will be presented next Tuesday. If the plan goes ahead, it will be the first time the president will present the budget proposal in November in the 2 years he has been president. December had always witnessed the annual ritual of budget presentation, and some Nigerians believe the likely early presentation will ensure timely passage of the budget in the fiscal year. On Friday, the Niger Delta Avengers, a group of militants, had announced an immediate end to its ceasefire with the federal government. The group said in a statement posted on its website that it would resume hostilities any day from now. It said the Buhari administration had not been sincere with its peace talks and promises for the Niger Delta. The group also condemned a former top militant in the region, Government Ekpemukpolu, also known as Tompolo, saying he had failed to live up to his leadership roles for those who seek absolute emancipation for the region. Attacks on oil facilities in the region last year cut Nigeria's oil production from 2.2 million barrels per day to 1 million barrels per day. Well, that's it for now on the news, and of course, Flashback, which features the stories that made headlines during the week. Thanks for being a part of it. For more details, visit our website. It is tvcnews.tv, and join the conversation on all our social media platforms using @TVC News NG. Thanks for watching. I am Esther Mokwariola.